In the early days of floating production, there was a lot of mooring incidents, especially in the North Sea. Operators were finding that mooring lines were failing for reasons that weren't anticipated during the design process, relatively early in the asset's life. And at the time, I was part of an engineering group that was launched a joint industry project to look at this and to try and understand what are the causes for this. Why is it? Why are these mooring lines failing? I mean, they shouldn't. There was no expectation of it being particularly complicated. Turns out there's a lot of physics and metallurgy in the question, and also mechanicals that come to bear. So this work launched a whole body of research around the globe in the end of the day. Lots of parties were publishing information that became incorporated into guidelines, into standards, including the Oil and Gas UK Mooring Integrity Guidelines. So this is an important body of learning. Now the industry is starting to consider electrification, and some of the schemes involve bringing floating devices into the proximity of producing assets. So you now have floating devices which have fundamentally the same exposures close up to assets, except there are some differences. You have a hull that might be moored with 3 mooring lines instead of 9. If a mooring line fails, there's a potential for a second mooring line failure. And if that happens with you've only got 3 lines, there's quite a lot of risk. You also have assets in close proximity to each other. And a degradation pattern in one asset could be present on another. These are plausible scenarios that basically have to be managed. So the idea of this paper is to flag the issue, signpost where this learning is, where designers can get access to further guidance on the subject, and to suggest that the Oil and Gas UK guidelines could be amended to just make reference to this particular risk profile. Okay, well, it's quite an easy decision. I live in Aberdeen. I've been part of the oil and gas industry as much as the sustainable energy industry for the last 25 years. And Offshore Europe is the conference in town for all the important papers. So if this is the time for electrification to be on the agenda, this is a useful bit of learning. It's obvious that this should be the conference for launching this paper. I'm hoping that professionals gain insight. I'm trying to provide insight into the learning of another industry, the oil and gas industry or a related industry, into this exposure area that could emerge in this new technology. In Apollo, we're doing projects all the time across oil and gas into sustainable energy, and we're seeing similarities and patterns, and transferring the experience from one area to another is very important. It is the oil and gas industry learned time and time again that a mooring line failure or even a multiple mooring line failure can really spoil the day. It compromises the ability of the asset to do what it's there to do. So it's an important topic, and I hope that professionals will be able to find a source of information, become more aware of the risks, and indeed how to manage them, which is what really matters. Well, for me, the energy transition is this opportunity we have today to use the resources, the knowledge, the learning, and indeed the investment that we have at our fingertips to build something which will be a more sustainable energy source for the future, for the decades to come. It's something we can do today, and I think it's important that we do it today, because if we wait and hope down the line that this suddenly becomes a more attractive commercial opportunity, I think we'll be behind the curve.